Okie dokie. So a bit of a impromptu stream. Somebody on the internet, which is where they tend to be located, I guess, to be fair, asked a question about the cockpit cabin and build ideas with it. So on top of my actual build here, that currently uses the cockpit. Not that it does it very well. I referenced a couple of other builds that I've seen thus far, or that I used personally. So I did talk about Sea Urchin, as you could probably tell from that interruption. The Sea Urchin build, which was a omnidirectional wedge. Yeah, so another use of it. This one was focusing more so on the extremely low profile of the cockpit, it being only 3 pips high compared to most other cabins being 4 or more, as well as a microfusion, which I knew of, but I had a bunch of images. Sorry, let me back up. So I knew I had the build made just as a hypothetical. I haven't actually used it for anything, but I knew that I made it because I, remembered it. And I have a folder of all the builds, and I realized that there are actually still quite a few that I haven't actually posted about. Now that I am kind of moving into this newer format of using YouTube for the builds rather than using the Reddit posts, I figure there isn't really going to be much opportunity to, in the future make those Reddit posts. So this is basically my attempt to catch all those like partially built builds up to speed by basically just dumping them all in this this one. So yeah, and then there's also a plane build that somebody had made, which was pretty cool. It wasn't very effective because it was using a single Hurricane at like 9,000 power score, but did function more or less. It was pretty cool, even if it wasn't necessarily, doing anything. Let's see. I can set up all of these. Oh, except that's lame when it does that. Right. Cool. Can get the timestamps going on here. So basically just go over the builds that I have in the folder. And I mean, a couple of these builds are ones that I've put on the exhibition before, I've talked about. So there's going to be some duplicates. Example being the Maglev I've talked about, the Murica Mi-24 I've talked about, the Scrap Sweeper, etc., etc. And then I know, for instance, one of the ones is just a single screenshot of the Stampede build, which I have like 3 or 4 streams of at this point, just due to updating them. So there will be a little bit of overlap there. But we can start going through these. So to start with, the Nova Reaper. So this is back when I had Reapers, which mind you is a while ago now. So this was in March. I'm just running it with the Nova cabin. So interesting to note, I did a very similar thing here with surrounding the Nova as I have on the current Crab clone build. Which is to say I put in some parts to try and fill in the gaps of the Nova. So if you look at it from the top, there's a couple of those slanted pieces vertically, and then there's also some 6x2s underneath the cabin as well, just there along the sides. Yeah, basically I was running 2 Reapers, used 4 4 ML200s and an auger, so it was extremely slow, which is why I didn't stick with it. But yeah, so those are the parts, and there's the top look. So it did have a invisibility module as well. So I used it for raids. Had a doodad there. I would probably not go this route. Now that I have a Apollo engine, I can just, an Apollo generator. I can just run 2 times Reaper and an Aurora, so I don't have much reason to do this sort of bastardized non-16 energy build. But yeah, this was a thing. So it wasn't, I mean, there's not really much to it. It's not that exciting, but it was made at one point. Definitely a lot more proud of the crap clone build in any case. So we have the Rocketeer. So this one is also pretty simple. It was just basically when I had 2 Hurricanes, using those. So the Hermit wheels are missing here because this is a exhibition build where I uploaded it after selling the Hermits for a stint of time. Basically it was designed to be sort of a rush buy sort of build. So it ran the oppressor engine, which you can't see but is flipped upside down in the back there. And so it had the increased reload speed when you travel faster. Once again, before reload speed was real. Prodigy is asking what I'm doing. You missed the intro, sir. You literally showed up when I start talking about like one of the builds, and you weren't here for the first 2. Disgusting. Anyway, I'm just going over the remaining builds that I have folders and images for that I haven't actually posted. So if that's your not very low-key at all way of asking if I want to do some siege, I'm definitely down to clown with it. Stuart works tomorrow morning, so he isn't on tonight, but he will be on earlier tomorrow. Likewise, we can obviously do Gloomhaven, though Regan has hopped off for the night as well. Yeah, so this was, I want to say after the Dusk Cabin came out as well. So like if you are going to be running into something, it's probably a lot more straightforward to just use the Dusk Cabin. But this was designed to still be a longer range vehicle due to using the Harpy and the Hurricanes without the Dusk Cabin. Join the party with Prodigy. Says I joined in any case. Says I'm connecting, says he's disconnected, so I'm going to leave and rejoin. See if that works. But in any case, it was designed to sort of be like a run and strike. So the intended use wasn't necessarily barrel stuffing things due to the amount of time it takes for a volley to fire, but being a very small target from the front due to its lack of width. Basically being able to prop up on top of a hill, such as on the bridge map, and then firing off 2 volleys and then going back hiding again. So once again, not a very complex build by any means, nor did I really end up using it. It was just hypothetical. You hear my whole stint, Prodigy? He's not talking now, so he's probably muted. Yes. Excellent.
Yes, I did.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes. You're very quiet, but I can hear you. So what's the plan? You asking about doing video games tonight, sir?
Yeah.
I can certainly oblige. I am just going through the remaining Crossout builds, though, so it'll be a few minutes.
Although I cannot play on my computer since I don't have it on me right now, but I don't play Xbox.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, there's still Siege, because I don't think you've... you haven't completed the Battle Pass yet, right?
No, I have not.
Yeah, so there. If you want to start getting warmed up on there, I've already completed the Battle Pass, and we can work on that. You're very quiet. I'm going to take it as you saying yes.
Give me a second. I'm on Crossout.
Okay. I mean, we can do Crossout too. It's your choice. But in any case, I'm going to keep working on the stream here. So this is an example, one of the builds I mentioned to the other user. In regards to using a cockpit cabin. So once again, this takes advantage of the extremely small space of the cockpit cabin. And in addition, it takes advantage of the fact that it's a light cabin and therefore has a high energy availability, meaning that it's basically, I think, probably the most energy efficient cabin per volume, if that makes sense. So you could even just slap on the gas gen here at the back and have 15 energy in about like an 8 by 6x3 volume, so very compact, very good for energy, and as a result for any fusion builds and or dare I say seal clubbing one wanted to use. So again, this is a hypothetical build. I didn't go out and wreak terror with it, but it is a 4 tackler build at sub 6,000 power score. So the gist would be you'd be able to use the coupler at the bottom attached to a parent build, and anything that's trying to shoot you is going to have to shoot through the tacklers slash the frames and APC parts. It's just designed to be rather tanky in a extremely small package. So probably one of the more interesting ones. Could have arguably added it in the micro build video a while back, but I don't think I did. The Stampede is a rather small section here. This is just its first version, its first iteration. So this was back when it was only 8 wide on the inside between tracks, not 10 wide. So this isn't the thick build. And this is also still back in May. So this is before the engine rework. So it was running the plus 20% reload speed due to the Colossus at this point in time. Yeah, so just basically showing that it actually performed quite well. So first place, lots of resources. Didn't die even with the Nerves of Steel. Got quite a few points. It was a hard frontier defense. Yeah, because I know lots of people harsh on cannons on the Reddit. Mind you, me showing this isn't exactly going to necessarily be that which convinces them either. Especially now that the whole reload module thing is a thing. The OmniWedge, so this is the other small build that I posted about. So this was the original variation of it before I closed up the front a little bit, added the side flares and the turrets and cheetah engines, so it was actually somewhat combat viable. This was basically the first idea of what if I just had a wedge on all sides. So pretty straightforward again. Yeah, so the actual micro build video that went over like the actual usable variant, I guess, the updated variant you could say, I think would be, suffice to say, a lot more interesting and actually usable. But like I said, I'm just going through all these extra photos here I haven't uploaded thus far for builds. So this is the Sea Urchin, formerly the OmniWedge. Cool. Roller, so this is another like just fuck around and find out build idea. So again, taking advantage of the cockpit's very small size, it was basically just putting it in a ball and seeing what I could do insofar as actually making it roll around. This wasn't terribly effective, which shouldn't be too terribly surprising, but I also didn't end up finishing or going back to it. So basically just if you made a ball, could you hamster wheel your way around? So potentially something I will investigate further in the future. But for the time being, it's just these two images. So there's not really a whole lot to it. All right, so this is the Murica Mi-24, which is a variant I believe I have touched on it before in the other video. Maybe not. I may not have made a video about it. In any case, it was for the Freedom Craft contest. So it was take a all-American vehicle. And so I posted on Twitter. And this is basically just all the photos I had with it. So the purpose was to take a Mi-24 Hind and then Americanize it, which ended up just basically being me making it and then slapping on a, well, basically American flag with eagle and guns on it, sort of thing. So it actually uses two internal hovers. I do have the full build available too. I don't know, Prodigy, Mr. #1 fan. Do you know if I've actually made a video about this before? I feel like I must have, but maybe
About
not.
the American vehicle? No.
Okay. Well, in any case, so yeah, it uses the RD2 Keen on the top and the Apollo on the rear to basically be pseudo rotors. Obviously, you have the actual main rotor here made out of APC parts as well, but it doesn't spin, so the Keen and Apollo are supposed to sort of indicate the direction that they would be spinning. Mind you, the real Hind has 5 rotor blades and this only has 4, but I can't do anything about that because it's a like base 2 building square grid system. So in any case, it has, like I said, two internal hovers, and that has wheels which are designed to be semi-decorative, so you can actually drive around with them, and then if you blow them off with the internal rocket launcher, you are able to, in theory, fly around. That being said, due to only using 2 internal hovers, it is very difficult to control and keep like above the ground without tipping and crashing and dragging on the ground. So I did kind of solve that, not really by adding 2 vertical bumpers, which doesn't prevent it from tipping, but it kind of keeps it more upright. Otherwise, for the actual internals of it, it has Crickets as weaponry on the wings. It has a Cheetah engine to power up the Chameleon's charge rate, and then it obviously has, because it's a ghost build with the Chameleon, you know, makes it more effective in theory. Once again, it's not, I mean, it's what, like, yeah, 10,000 power score, so I wouldn't exactly consider it a combat viable one in any case, but it is designed to be very pretty. So, yeah, very cool. Just like the seaplane, I kind of just keep it around as a semi-art, semi-functional build. Probably those two are probably the coolest builds I've made thus far, and the least likely to like delete. They'll probably be around for a while. Likewise, that was sort of the inspiration, or rather the first step for me getting a semi-functioning maglev train going, was figuring out how to do internal hovers in a semi-usable manner, which this uses a bit better, but I mean, that's, again, its own video, so I won't delve too deep on that specific build in any case. Alright, so for other solo images that aren't specifically an entire build thing or have its own folders, so these are just different things as kind of poking around with our saw or whatnot, not like necessarily anything. I don't know, they're just kind of like the loose leaf images of builds where it's just a one-off, like I saw it or I had an idea, and I was just, yeah, using them as basically as a one-off. So some of these aren't mine, mind you. This is focused on the fact that the harvesters have a gap 1 high and 3 wide. So they're a 12 wide block, but only the middle 6 are actually filled by pips. So the logic behind this is if you really wanted to, you could run 2 times harvesters by running them flipped, and then run 2 tacklers in the gaps on the side. Now I don't know why you'd want to, especially because the weapons don't synergize at all. Realistically, you'd be a lot better off using Draco flamethrowers, but they do technically fit, so that's an option. There's a couple of build spectates, which I'm not going to go through since they're not my builds. And then this one I posted about before, but I was talking about the synergy of the tank tracks due to them being taller than most other tracks, and thus being lower in what they can protect underneath the cabin. And then the Goliath tracks, which are the other tracks which are the highest, but have most of their bulk above frame level. So this is just showing how you could combine the two to have an extremely tall armored build with tracks on the outside. And I don't think any of these other ones are my builds, so I won't go into that too much. But yeah, because this is sort of the format of videos I'll probably be doing in the future again, I think it makes sense to just sort of scoop up all the remaining ones I haven't done thus far and eat them into one place. So that will conclude that stream, and then I can go and play video games with Prodigy.